FreeBooksTube is glad to produce, publish, and offer. Impartial, remove all bias to your mindset. By Sage D. Esotreasure. The human mind is deeply influenced by various biases, which shape our perspectives and determine how we interpret the world. These biases are rooted in our personal history, cultural background, values, and even genetic predispositions. While some biases are helpful in making quick decisions, others can lead to narrow-minded views, flawed judgments, and disagreements with those holding differing opinions. To achieve a neutral mindset, it's essential to approach situations, ideas, and people with objectivity, free from personal biases or hidden agendas. Developing this impartial mindset requires introspection and the ability to identify personal biases. Recognizing these biases demands self-awareness, while challenging them necessitates courage and humility. A neutral perspective embraces a wide range of viewpoints, prioritizes facts over emotions, and stays open to evolving views and new information. This guide provides practical tools for fostering impartiality, including self-reflection exercises, analytical methods, and mindset shifts that help in understanding different perspectives. Through patience and practice, anyone can cultivate this mindset, which can lead to better decision-making, improved communication, and greater empathy. Identifying and acknowledging biases. Consider Catherine, who prided herself on being fair and unbiased. As a team leader, she worked hard to ensure everyone had an equal opportunity. However, a work experience forced her to reevaluate her objectivity. Catherine was tasked with hiring a new junior associate. After reviewing many resumes, she narrowed it down to 4 candidates, 2 men and 2 women, ranging from recent graduates to seasoned professionals. On paper, she found it difficult to make a clear choice between them. As the interviews progressed, Catherine noticed subtle biases influencing her judgments. For example, Alex, a white male from an Ivy League school, seemed instantly credible to her. His prestigious background made her assume he was highly competent. However, when interviewing Jama, a woman of color from a lesser-known institution, she scrutinized her more closely. Similarly, Jose, a mid-career professional who had switched fields, prompted Catherine to question his technical skills, fearing he might be out of touch with modern technology. Even Samantha, a recent graduate with impressive academic achievements, gave Catherine doubts due to her lack of experience. After the final interview, Catherine realized that her judgments had been shaped by unconscious biases related to gender, ethnicity, age, and educational background. These quick decisions had unfairly skewed her assessments. Shocked by her own biases, Catherine put the hiring process on hold and sought resources to help her identify and eliminate these hidden prejudices. She learned about techniques such as using structured interviews and anonymizing candidate information to reduce bias. Armed with this new awareness, Catherine reevaluated the candidates based solely on their qualifications and performance during the interviews. This time, Samantha emerged as the strongest candidate due to her enthusiasm, creativity, and problem-solving abilities. In retrospect, Catherine realized that Samantha was indeed the best fit for the role when viewed objectively. From this experience, Catherine made a commitment to continuously examine her own biases. She even developed diversity training programs to help her team members recognize their blind spots in decision-making. Although confronting her biases was challenging, it ultimately made Catherine a better leader. By adopting an impartial mindset, she ensured that all candidates were evaluated fairly, leading to more equitable hiring practices. The nature of cognitive biases. Our brains are naturally prone to cognitive biases, systematic patterns of deviation from rational thinking and objective truth. These biases are shaped by a mix of evolutionary factors, cultural influences, personal experiences, and the inherent limitations of human cognition. While these mental shortcuts were advantageous for our ancestors in making rapid decisions during life-threatening situations, they can mislead us in today's more complex world. Cognitive biases can cause us to cling to incorrect beliefs, make poor choices, and reinforce existing prejudices. Therefore, developing an impartial mindset begins with recognizing and understanding these biases. By doing so, we can begin to minimize their impact on our thoughts and behaviors. Confirmation bias. One of the most common biases is confirmation bias, which refers to our tendency to seek out, interpret, and remember information that aligns with our pre-existing beliefs or hypotheses. This bias can be subtle, causing us to unconsciously ignore evidence that contradicts our views while focusing on information that supports them. Over time, this creates a feedback loop that reinforces our beliefs, even when there is ample evidence to the contrary. To combat confirmation bias, it is crucial to actively seek out information and viewpoints that challenge our existing beliefs. We must make a conscious effort to consider alternative explanations with an open mind. This process requires intellectual humility, the ability to admit that we may be wrong and that our perspective is not the only valid one. The availability heuristic. Another cognitive bias that can distort our judgment is the availability heuristic, which occurs when we overestimate the likelihood or significance of events based on how easily they come to mind. This bias often leads us to make decisions based on vivid personal experiences or memorable examples, rather than taking into account the full spectrum of data and probabilities. For example, many people fear flying because plane crashes are highly publicized and memorable. Even though air travel is statistically much safer than driving, the vivid images and media coverage of crashes make them seem more frequent and dangerous than they are. The availability heuristic can thus skew our perception of risk and lead to irrational fears or poor decision-making. Overcoming biases for better decision-making. Recognizing the role of biases in our thought processes is the first step toward overcoming them. Once we acknowledge that our perceptions may be distorted, we can take deliberate steps to counteract these biases. This involves seeking out diverse perspectives, questioning our assumptions, and relying on objective data rather than personal anecdotes. By cultivating an impartial mindset, we can improve our decision-making skills and become more effective communicators. An unbiased perspective allows us to engage with others more empathetically and understand their viewpoints without judgment. In professional settings, this can lead to better leadership, enhanced teamwork, and more equitable practices. In personal relationships, adopting a neutral mindset can help resolve conflicts and foster deeper connections. By setting aside preconceived notions and focusing on the facts, we can approach disagreements with curiosity rather than defensiveness. This opens the door to meaningful dialogue and mutual understanding. Ultimately, developing an impartial mindset requires ongoing effort and self-awareness. It is not something that can be achieved overnight, but with practice, it can become a valuable tool for navigating the complexities of life. Whether in the workplace, at home, or in social interactions, approaching situations with an open mind and a willingness to challenge our own biases can lead to wiser choices, stronger relationships, and a more compassionate outlook. By understanding and addressing our cognitive biases, we can begin to see the world through a clearer, more objective lens, one that allows us to make decisions based on facts rather than assumptions and engage with others from a place of respect and empathy. Human decision-making is often guided by various cognitive biases, which can distort our ability to make impartial and rational judgments. These biases, rooted in our psychological and cultural makeup, lead us to rely on mental shortcuts that may not always reflect reality. Recognizing and addressing these biases is essential to developing a more objective mindset, enabling us to see situations clearly and act accordingly. One of the most prevalent biases is the availability heuristic, where we overestimate the importance of information that is easily recalled. For example, when thinking about plane crashes, many people tend to overestimate their frequency due to the media attention such events receive, even though statistically, air travel is one of the safest modes of transport. To address this bias, we must actively seek comprehensive data sets and evaluate base rates and probabilities. This approach helps us avoid over-reliance on examples that are simply memorable or emotionally charged, leading to a more balanced understanding of reality. Another cognitive trap we frequently fall into is the anchoring bias. This bias occurs when we base our decisions too heavily on the first piece of information we receive, often called the anchor. This initial information can heavily influence our judgments, even if it is unrelated or not particularly relevant. For instance, a high price initially set by a seller can anchor our perception of an item's value, making us more likely to consider even a reduced but still overpriced amount as reasonable. Overcoming the anchoring bias requires us to critically evaluate the relevance and objectivity of the first piece of information we encounter and adjust our views as new data becomes available. The fundamental attribution error is another bias that impairs our impartiality. This occurs when we attribute the actions or behaviors of others to their personal characteristics, while overlooking external factors that may have influenced their decisions. Take the case of someone cutting you off in traffic. Our immediate reaction might be to label them as reckless or selfish, without considering that they might have been distracted or dealing with an emergency. Addressing this bias requires us to consider the context and external circumstances behind other people's actions, rather than making broad assumptions about their character based on isolated incidents. Closely related to this is the actor-observer bias, which explains how we tend to attribute our own actions to external circumstances, while attributing others' actions to their internal characteristics. For example, if we miss a deadline, we might excuse ourselves by citing unforeseen disruptions or conflicting priorities, whereas if a colleague does the same, we are more likely to attribute their behavior to laziness or poor time management. This bias is a defense mechanism to preserve our self-image while holding others to a different standard. To counteract this, we must apply the same level of understanding and empathy to others that we grant ourselves. A particularly pervasive bias is in-group bias, which leads us to show favoritism toward those who are part of our social group while viewing those outside our group with more suspicion or negativity. This bias is deeply rooted in human evolution, where forming tight-knit communities helped ensure survival and safety. However, in the modern world, this tendency can lead to stereotyping, prejudice, and discrimination. Challenging this bias involves making a conscious effort to engage with people from diverse backgrounds and seeing them as individuals rather than merely as members of a different group. By doing so, we foster understanding and empathy, which helps combat the divisive mentality of us versus them. The sunk cost fallacy is another cognitive bias that can cloud our judgment. It leads us to continue investing time, effort, or resources into a failing project or relationship simply because we have already put significant investment into it. This irrational commitment often results in prolonging unproductive endeavors, staying in toxic relationships, or sticking to strategies that clearly aren't working, simply because we don't want to waste what we've already invested. Overcoming the sunk cost fallacy requires recognizing when to let go and making decisions based on current circumstances and evidence, rather than past investments. This allows for more objective and adaptive decision-making. The halo effect refers to the tendency to let our overall impression of a person or situation be influenced by a single characteristic, often leading us to overlook other important factors. For example, if we find someone physically attractive, we might automatically assume they are also intelligent, successful, or kind, even if there's no evidence to support these assumptions. Conversely, if we have a negative first impression of someone, we might disregard their positive traits. Countering the halo effect means evaluating each characteristic or action independently, ensuring we don't let one trait dictate our entire perception of a person or situation. Another common bias is the gambler's fallacy, which often leads us to make faulty assumptions about probability. This bias is based on the incorrect belief that if an event happens frequently in the past, it is less likely to happen in the future, or vice versa. For example, if a coin has landed on heads multiple times in a row, we might mistakenly believe that tails is now due. In reality, each flip is an independent event with equal probability. Recognizing this helps us avoid making predictions or decisions based on perceived patterns or streaks that have no real bearing on future outcomes. The framing effect is another bias that influences our decision-making, depending on how information is presented. The way facts or statistics are framed can significantly shape our perceptions and choices, even if the underlying data is identical. For example, a medical treatment with a 90% survival rate sounds more favorable than one with a 10% mortality rate, despite both descriptions reflecting the same reality. To mitigate the framing effect, we must focus on the objective facts behind the presentation and resist being swayed by how information is framed. By consciously looking beyond the surface, we can make more informed and impartial decisions. Each of these biases, from the availability heuristic to the framing effect, illustrates how easily our judgment can be swayed by cognitive shortcuts. The good news is that by becoming aware of these biases, we can take deliberate steps to overcome them and foster a more impartial perspective. Developing an objective mindset takes time and practice, but it begins with self-awareness. Once we recognize how our brains tend to mislead us, we can make more rational, data-driven decisions. Actively challenging our cognitive biases helps us see the world more clearly and interact with others more fairly. Whether in our professional lives, relationships, or everyday decision-making, overcoming biases enables us to evaluate situations based on facts, rather than assumptions. It also helps us avoid snap judgments that may be rooted in incomplete or distorted information. Ultimately, the path to impartiality involves a commitment to self-reflection and continuous learning. By cultivating an open mind and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions, we can break free from the influence of cognitive biases and make decisions that are grounded in fairness and reason. This process not only improves our judgment but also enhances our relationships and broadens our understanding of the world. Biases are ingrained patterns of thinking that often shape our decisions without us even realizing it. The bias blind spot is a key example of this, where we can easily point out biases in others but fail to see them in ourselves. This creates a significant barrier to objective thinking. We might believe we are immune to these cognitive distortions, but in reality, no one is completely unbiased. This blind spot can hinder our ability to make fair decisions, as we fail to recognize how our own thoughts and actions are affected by biases. To counter this, it's essential to constantly challenge our own beliefs and assumptions, acknowledging that our minds are susceptible to distortions just like everyone else's. Developing a fair and impartial mindset is not just about addressing our biases, it also involves cultivating empathy. Too often, we separate ourselves from those with different beliefs or life experiences, failing to see our shared humanity. Building an impartial perspective requires moving beyond divisions and learning to understand others' viewpoints. By stepping outside of our own limited worldviews, we gain insights into the complexities of issues we face and the obstacles others experience. Empathy, at its core, is understanding that everyone's reality is subjective. Each person sees the world through the lens of their own experiences, values, and neurological wiring. This can lead to a variety of interpretations of what we may consider to be clear-cut truths. Recognizing these differences is crucial for gaining new perspectives. When we take the time to understand where someone is coming from, we open ourselves to learning valuable lessons that can deepen our own understanding. Additionally, showing empathy fosters greater respect and collaboration among individuals with diverse backgrounds and viewpoints. A powerful way to develop empathy is by actively putting ourselves in someone else's shoes. This means intentionally setting aside our own assumptions and prejudices to see the world through their eyes. We need to approach their perspective with curiosity and openness, genuinely trying to understand their experiences, beliefs, and emotions. This practice goes beyond mere observation. It requires us to suspend our judgments and be open to learning from the viewpoint of others rather than dismissing it outright. Active listening plays a crucial role in this process. Listening isn't just about hearing words, it involves trying to grasp the thoughts, emotions, and intentions behind what is being said. It requires asking clarifying questions, summarizing to confirm understanding, and creating a supportive environment where people feel comfortable expressing themselves without fear of being judged or ignored. When we listen actively, we not only understand others better, but we also signal that their perspectives are valued. Exposure to different viewpoints is essential for developing a fair and impartial mindset. This requires us to seek out diverse perspectives, particularly those that challenge our current beliefs and assumptions. It's tempting to remain within echo chambers that simply reinforce our worldview, but doing so limits our growth. It's important to expose ourselves to ideas and opinions that push us out of our comfort zones, even if it means revising or abandoning long-held beliefs when confronted with compelling evidence or logical arguments. At the same time, while it's important to consider and empathize with different perspectives, this doesn't mean we need to abandon our own core values. We can hold on to our personal principles while still striving to understand and respect viewpoints that differ from ours. The goal is not to agree with every perspective we encounter, but to approach them with an open mind and a willingness to consider their validity. Even if we ultimately choose to respectfully disagree, the process of engaging with opposing views can enrich our understanding. Overcoming our natural inclinations toward tribalism is another essential step in developing empathy. Human beings tend to form alliances with those who are similar to us and to be suspicious of those who are different. This instinctual behavior can result in division and conflict, often perpetuating negative stereotypes or discrimination. However, if we wish to build a more just and equitable society, We must work to see beyond surface-level differences such as appearance, culture, or beliefs. By acknowledging the common aspirations and shared struggles that connect all humans, we can foster unity and understanding. Empathy is not only an intellectual exercise but also an emotional one. It requires emotional intelligence and self-awareness. We need to be able to identify and manage our own emotional triggers when faced with beliefs or opinions that challenge us. When our deeply held convictions are questioned, it's natural to feel defensive or uncomfortable. But developing emotional resilience allows us to stay calm and open to learning, even when confronted with cognitive dissonance. Instead of reacting with anger or retreating from uncomfortable situations, we can cultivate patience and a willingness to engage with differing viewpoints. It's important to acknowledge that practicing empathy and gaining new perspectives isn't always easy. Sometimes, it can be emotionally or intellectually challenging to understand and validate perspectives that are drastically different from our own. This process often requires us to confront deeply rooted biases and beliefs that we may not even be fully aware of. Furthermore, in cases where someone's beliefs or actions are deeply troubling to us, it's essential to maintain our own ethical boundaries while still seeking to comprehend the reasons behind their viewpoints. Balancing empathy with our own moral compass ensures that we remain true to our values while engaging with diverse perspectives. However, it's also worth recognizing that empathy has its limits. There are situations where trying to understand or validate another's perspective may not be appropriate, particularly when the ideology in question is grounded in hate, bigotry, or the deliberate oppression of others. In these cases, empathy may be counterproductive. When someone's worldview is based on the dehumanization or harm of others, our priority should be to challenge and oppose those views, rather than attempting to empathize with them. Maintaining empathy for the oppressed while standing firm against destructive ideologies is crucial for building a society rooted in justice and dignity. To sum up, developing a fair and impartial mindset involves both recognizing and overcoming our own biases and making a genuine effort to understand others. By cultivating empathy, practicing active listening, and exposing ourselves to diverse perspectives, we can broaden our understanding of the world and foster greater mutual respect. At the same time, we must hold on to our own core values and ethical principles, balancing empathy with firm boundaries when necessary. Ultimately, this process of self-reflection, emotional intelligence, and intellectual curiosity leads to more fair and reasoned decision-making, benefiting not only ourselves but the larger community as well. To develop a mindset of empathy and impartiality, it is crucial to recognize when perspectives cannot or should not be respected. There are viewpoints that fundamentally oppose human rights or dignity, such as those rooted in bigotry or hatred, and these should be firmly rejected. Rather than attempting to validate or find common ground with such harmful ideologies, the appropriate response is to approach these situations with wisdom and discernment. It is necessary to differentiate between perspectives that, though they may differ from our own, deserve respect and consideration, and those that clearly contradict empathy and the core principles of human decency. Even in the face of strong disagreements, empathy and the ability to consider other viewpoints can open doors to dialogue, understanding, and potential solutions. By attempting to understand the fears, histories, and motivations behind various perspectives, we can sometimes find common ground, even if our personal beliefs remain unchanged. This process does not always result in agreement, but it can lead to more productive and respectful interactions, creating opportunities for mutual learning and growth. However, developing empathy in a fair-minded perspective is an ongoing process. It is not a destination we reach, but a continuous effort requiring practice, self-reflection, and a commitment to questioning our own assumptions. The reality is that our assumptions, those core beliefs we often take for granted, shape how we see the world. These assumptions form a mental filter through which we interpret information, often without us being aware of their influence. They are built from our upbringing, culture, personal experiences, education, and even biological tendencies. Left unchecked, these assumptions can contribute to cognitive biases, closed-mindedness, and an inability to appreciate other perspectives. From a young age, we are taught certain values and beliefs, which become deeply ingrained in our worldview. As we go through life, we naturally gather experiences that reinforce our existing assumptions, and we tend to seek out information that aligns with what we already believe, ignoring or dismissing evidence to the contrary. This is how confirmation bias works. It makes us gravitate toward viewpoints that support our pre-existing beliefs, while blocking out anything that might challenge them. If we are to develop a more impartial perspective, it is essential to actively challenge these assumptions. This requires conscious effort, self-awareness, and a willingness to face the discomfort that comes with cognitive dissonance, the mental tension that arises when we are confronted with information that contradicts our deeply held beliefs. It can be unsettling to realize that some of the beliefs we have held onto for years may not be as solid as we once thought, but it is precisely this discomfort that leads to growth and greater understanding. A powerful method for challenging our assumptions is to engage in Socratic questioning. This involves asking deep, probing questions that challenge the foundations of our beliefs. What evidence do we have for these beliefs? Are they based on sound reasoning, or have they been shaped by emotion or incomplete information? By examining our beliefs critically, and even playing the devil's advocate by arguing from an opposing perspective, we test the validity and coherence of our convictions. This exercise allows us to see the gaps in our reasoning and identify areas where we may need to adjust our thinking. In addition to Socratic questioning, one effective way to broaden our understanding is to actively seek out viewpoints that are different from our own. This can be done by reading books, articles, or studies that offer a variety of perspectives, especially those that challenge our current understanding. Engaging in respectful debates or discussions with people who hold differing opinions can also provide valuable insights. Even travel or educational experiences that expose us to new cultures and ways of thinking can broaden our perspectives. The goal is to continually expose ourselves to a diverse range of ideas and viewpoints so that we can more accurately assess and, if necessary, revise our assumptions. A critical part of this process is developing the humility to admit when we may be wrong or when our understanding of the world is limited. Holding on to assumptions too tightly can lead to a closed-minded approach to life, where we are no longer open to new information or perspectives. True impartiality comes from acknowledging the limits of our own knowledge and being willing to adjust our beliefs when presented with new evidence or compelling arguments. However, it's also important to understand that challenging our assumptions does not mean we should discard our core values. We can still hold on to our fundamental ethical principles while remaining open to refining our understanding of how to apply them in complex, real-world situations. The goal is not to abandon our beliefs, but to ensure that they are based on sound reasoning and evidence, rather than unchecked assumptions or biases. By continually questioning and refining our beliefs, we ensure that they remain grounded in logic, evidence, and a deep respect for human rights and dignity. This process of reassessment allows us to maintain a flexible, open-minded approach to life without losing sight of our ethical foundations. It is important to recognize that this process of questioning our assumptions should be ongoing. Life continually presents us with new experiences, challenges, and perspectives, and it is vital that we regularly reevaluate the beliefs and assumptions that shape our thoughts and actions. This requires a commitment to continuous learning, self-reflection, and the willingness to live with uncertainty or ambiguity at times. It also means being open to personal growth, even if that growth comes at the cost of letting go of long-held beliefs that once provided comfort or certainty. Furthermore, questioning our assumptions is not something that happens in isolation. It's a process that should take place within a broader context of respectful dialogue and collective inquiry. Engaging in open discussions, participating in respectful debates, and listening to the perspectives of others can help us not only challenge our own beliefs but also contribute to a wider culture of critical thinking and intellectual curiosity. These discussions help to expand a collective human understanding and encourage a more thoughtful, open-minded approach to the world. It is worth noting that this process of questioning our assumptions can be deeply emotional and, at times, difficult. It challenges the very core of how we see the world, and it can be unsettling to confront the possibility that our most deeply held beliefs may be flawed or incomplete. Yet, it is through this discomfort that we grow. By embracing uncertainty and being willing to adapt, we build a more flexible, open-minded, and empathetic approach to life. Our beliefs and assumptions are deeply intertwined with how we view ourselves, how we belong, and how we understand our place in the world. Confronting the notion that these beliefs might be flawed or incomplete can stir emotions such as sadness, frustration, or even lead us to question our very existence. It's crucial to approach this internal challenge with patience and empathy. We must recognize that our beliefs carry psychological and social significance, even if they're wrong or incomplete. Understanding this helps make the process of questioning less about losing our identity and more about evolving it. Challenging these assumptions doesn't mean achieving perfect objectivity or becoming entirely impartial. Rather, it's about nurturing a mindset of humility and curiosity, combined with a desire for continuous growth in our understanding of the world. This approach can sharpen our decision-making skills and guide us toward the pursuit of knowledge, fostering human progress. Although it can be unsettling, the journey of personal development offers the potential to improve our lives, strengthen our communities, and create a more inclusive and harmonious society. Maintaining an open mind and committing to lifelong learning are fundamental to this journey. Many of us fall into intellectual stagnation, clinging to familiar beliefs, ideas, and perspectives without embracing new information that might challenge us. However, true impartiality is not a fixed state but requires a continuous willingness to question assumptions, explore diverse viewpoints, and remain open to changing long-held beliefs when evidence or sound reasoning calls for it. A crucial part of this process is acknowledging the limits of our knowledge. No matter how much we've learned or traveled, our understanding of the world is shaped by individual circumstances, upbringing, and biases. By humbly recognizing these limitations, we allow space for new ideas and create opportunities for growth. This perspective not only deepens our comprehension of the world but also keeps our mind open to change. An open mind requires us to resist confirmation bias, the natural tendency to seek out information that supports our current beliefs while ignoring evidence to the contrary. This bias can lead to echo chambers, where we're only exposed to like-minded opinions, reinforcing our assumptions and potentially fostering dogmatism. To avoid this, we must deliberately seek out contrasting perspectives, engage with ideas that challenge us, and approach new information with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Lifelong learning is another key to maintaining an open mind. In a world that's constantly evolving with new discoveries, technologies, and shifts, staying informed and adaptable is essential. Engaging with a variety of sources, continuing to question our beliefs, and being open to changing our minds as new evidence emerges ensures we remain intellectually vibrant and adaptable. This mindset promotes resilience in a rapidly changing world. A powerful tool for this type of intellectual growth is Socratic questioning, where we challenge the assumptions and foundations of our beliefs by asking deep, probing questions. Participating in respectful debates or dialogues that test the strength of our convictions allows us to uncover blind spots in our thinking and discover areas where we might need to refine or even abandon certain beliefs. This kind of critical examination is an essential part of continuous learning, helping us become more thoughtful and well-rounded individuals. It's also important to recognize the value of maintaining a growth mindset, a belief that we can improve our knowledge and abilities through effort, openness, and a positive attitude toward challenges. This mindset nurtures a genuine passion for learning and embraces the idea that open-mindedness is not a destination but a lifelong process. With this approach, We're not just content to stick with what we know, but are constantly pushing ourselves beyond our intellectual comfort zones. Immersing ourselves in new experiences is an excellent way to expand our perspectives and challenge existing beliefs. Traveling to new places, engaging with people from different backgrounds, and participating in cultural immersion experiences can open our eyes to alternative ways of thinking. By stepping outside our usual frame of reference, we expose ourselves to ideas that can broaden our understanding and challenge long-standing assumptions, helping us grow intellectually and emotionally. Importantly, keeping an open mind doesn't require abandoning all of our convictions or becoming morally relativistic. We can remain committed to our core values and ethical principles while still being receptive to improving our understanding of how those values apply in the complex realities of the world. The goal isn't to discard our beliefs, but to refine them in light of new insights and experiences. An open mind requires emotional intelligence as much as intellectual openness. We need to recognize and manage our emotional responses when our beliefs are challenged. Cognitive dissonance, the discomfort we feel when confronted with conflicting ideas, can trigger defensive reactions. By approaching these moments with humility and curiosity, we can transform them into opportunities for growth, rather than allowing them to shut us down. At times, keeping an open mind can be uncomfortable, even unsettling. Encountering new information that challenges our worldview might create feelings of uncertainty or confusion. However, it's vital to practice self-compassion during these moments. Recognizing that personal growth often comes with discomfort allows us to better cope with these challenges and view them as stepping stones toward a richer, more nuanced understanding of the world. The benefits of remaining open to new ideas and committing to lifelong learning far outweigh the challenges. Staying curious and receptive allows us to build intellectual adaptability, greater empathy, and a broader perspective on life. This not only enhances our individual understanding but also equips us to better navigate the complexities of a rapidly changing world. In conclusion, the journey of questioning our assumptions and opening ourselves to continuous learning is one of personal growth, intellectual curiosity, and emotional resilience. By doing so, we can deepen our understanding of ourselves, others, and the world around us. Though it may be difficult at times, the rewards of this practice, empathy, wisdom, and intellectual flexibility, are profound. In the end, we enrich our own lives and contribute to the cultivation of a more compassionate and open-minded society. In today's fast-paced world, it is easy to move through life without taking the time to reflect on our thoughts, actions, and decisions. Yet, deliberate self-reflection is crucial for anyone seeking to develop an impartial mindset that is rooted in self-awareness, intentionality, and a deep understanding of their own biases and blind spots. This practice, which involves pausing to examine ourselves critically yet compassionately, helps us question the assumptions that may be unconsciously influencing our perspective and decisions. Without self-reflection, we risk moving through life on autopilot, letting unexamined beliefs and values guide our behavior. One of the most effective tools for self-reflection is journaling. Setting aside time each day to write down our thoughts, feelings, and experiences allows us to explore them without judgment or censorship. When we engage in this practice, we might discover patterns in our thinking, identify biases we hadn't previously noticed, or gain insight into how past experiences shape our current mindset. Journaling offers a unique space to process emotions, understand complex situations, and confront the ideas that influence our everyday decisions. Through writing, we create a structured way to think critically about ourselves and open the door to personal growth. Another powerful technique for self-reflection is mindfulness or meditation. These practices encourage us to become more aware of the present moment and observe our thoughts and feelings without reacting to them. This non-judgmental awareness can reveal how our minds operate, shedding light on the cognitive processes that shape our perceptions and decision-making. By honing this skill, we become more attuned to deeply held beliefs or mental distortions that might prevent us from seeing things objectively. Mindfulness helps cultivate a greater sense of clarity, allowing us to approach life with more balance and wisdom. In addition to self-reflection through journaling or mindfulness, seeking feedback from trusted individuals can offer valuable perspectives. Honest conversations with friends, family, mentors, or therapists can illuminate biases or blind spots we may not have noticed ourselves. It's often easier for others to see patterns in our behavior that we are too close to recognize. This external feedback can broaden our understanding of how others perceive our actions and decisions, providing an opportunity to reflect on how our behavior aligns with our values and intentions. Equally important is reflecting on our past decisions. By looking back on the choices we've made, we can assess whether they were based on sound reasoning, fair judgment, and a comprehensive understanding of the situation. This reflective practice helps us learn from our mistakes and successes alike, ensuring that we approach future decisions with greater insight. It allows us to refine our judgment and become more mindful of the factors and perspectives that should influence our actions. However, self-reflection isn't about harshly criticizing ourselves or dwelling on past missteps. It's essential to approach this process with self-compassion, understanding that growth comes from a desire to improve rather than from self-blame. Being overly critical can make us defensive and resistant to change, which undermines the purpose of self-reflection. Instead, we must cultivate a gentle curiosity about our own growth areas, mistakes, and biases, with a genuine commitment to becoming better versions of ourselves. Moreover, self-reflection is not a one-time activity. It's a habit that we need to nurture regularly, incorporating it into our daily lives. Life continually presents us with new situations, challenges, and choices, and each of these experiences offers a fresh opportunity for reflection. Over time, this practice helps us align our actions and decisions with our core values and our commitment to fairness. Regular self-examination is a vital tool for personal development and for fostering a mindset of growth and open-mindedness. One of the significant benefits of self-reflection is its ability to counteract confirmation bias, which is our tendency to seek out information that supports our pre-existing beliefs while ignoring or downplaying evidence that contradicts them. By regularly examining our own thought processes, we can identify when we are falling into this trap and consciously seek out alternative viewpoints. This openness to new information helps us stay intellectually flexible, ready to revise our opinions when faced with compelling new evidence or insights. Self-reflection also enhances emotional intelligence, helping us become more aware of our emotional triggers, reactive patterns, and unconscious biases. By understanding our own emotional landscape, we can better manage our reactions in difficult situations and approach challenges with a calmer, more objective mindset. This heightened emotional awareness allows us to navigate complex problems with greater wisdom and sensitivity, improving not only our decision-making but also our relationships and interactions with others. It's important to recognize that self-reflection can sometimes be uncomfortable. When we confront our biases, blind spots, and areas for growth, we may feel humbled or even unsettled. This discomfort arises because self-reflection challenges how we see ourselves and what we believe. However, if we approach this practice with humility, courage, and a sincere desire to grow, the discomfort becomes a catalyst for positive change. By facing these uncomfortable truths, we increase our potential for personal growth and develop a truly impartial mindset. The process of self-reflection doesn't just impact us individually, it has far-reaching effects on our relationships, communities, and society. As we become more self-aware, we can engage with others more thoughtfully, showing greater respect, empathy, and understanding. Self-reflection enables us to approach conversations with an open mind, listen more attentively, and make decisions that are fair and balanced. By improving our own self-awareness, we contribute to a more harmonious, inclusive, and just world. Listening with openness and without prejudice is another key skill in fostering a fair and impartial mindset. In today's polarized world, true listening, hearing and understanding perspectives different from our own without jumping to judgment, has become a rare and valuable skill. Too often, we enter conversations with preconceived notions, ready to defend our position rather than genuinely engaging with what others have to say. This defensiveness can close us off to new ideas and limit our ability to grow. To develop a truly impartial mindset and foster greater collaboration among diverse communities, we must master the art of open, compassionate listening. This kind of listening requires us to set aside our own goals, prejudices, and assumptions and approach each conversation with a genuine desire to understand. It involves resisting the urge to formulate a rebuttal while the other person is speaking and instead focusing entirely on their words, tone, and the underlying feelings or meanings they are conveying. By cultivating the ability to listen without bias, we become better equipped to navigate complex social and political environments with empathy and insight. This skill enables us to bridge divides, foster meaningful dialogue, and contribute to a more connected and understanding society. When we listen openly, we create space for new ideas, challenge our own assumptions, and promote greater tolerance and cooperation. In the end, both self-reflection and open listening are essential practices for anyone seeking to develop a more impartial, fair-minded approach to life. These practices, when combined, allow us to grow both intellectually and emotionally, becoming more thoughtful, empathetic individuals who are better equipped to engage with the world around us. By committing to regular self-reflection and cultivating the habit of listening openly, we not only improve ourselves but also contribute to creating a world where differences are celebrated and mutual understanding flourishes. In our daily interactions, listening openly without bias is a skill that seems increasingly rare, particularly in a world filled with polarized opinions and divided communities. Our natural inclination toward confirmation bias, the unconscious tendency to prioritize information that aligns with our pre-existing beliefs while dismissing contradictory evidence, often stands in the way of truly open, non-judgmental listening. This bias filters the information we receive, preventing us from fully engaging with alternative viewpoints and obscuring valuable insights that might challenge or broaden our perspective. To counter this bias, we must practice active listening. Active listening requires us to make a deliberate effort to engage fully with the speaker, temporarily setting aside our own assumptions and judgments. It involves not just understanding the words being spoken but also recognizing the emotions, motivations, and context that underpin those words. To ensure we accurately capture the essence of what the speaker is conveying, we need to be present in the moment, ask clarifying questions, and reflect on the insights we gain from the interaction. Empathy is central to listening with openness and fairness. It requires us to step out of our own experiences and deliberately try to understand the world from another person's perspective. This is not about accepting or endorsing viewpoints that conflict with our moral or ethical beliefs, but it does involve confronting those opposing ideas with an open mind and recognizing that even the most strongly held opinions are often rooted in complex, real-world experiences. These experiences may be shaped by cultural, historical, or social factors that are unfamiliar to us, making it crucial to approach differing views with curiosity and an eagerness to learn. Overcoming our natural tribalistic tendencies is another essential component of listening without prejudice. As human beings, we have a deep-rooted inclination to identify with those who are similar to us while viewing those who are different with suspicion. This us versus them mentality can prevent meaningful dialogue and hinder our ability to connect with others. Letting go of these biases is an ongoing process, but it is vital if we hope to listen in a genuinely compassionate way. When we listen with openness, we create the conditions for understanding and cooperation among people with differing backgrounds and worldviews. Active, non-judgmental listening is not a passive endeavor. It requires emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront our own defensive responses. It's natural to feel defensive when we encounter views that challenge our deeply held beliefs. But rather than shutting down or responding with hostility, we can choose to approach these moments with calm curiosity and a sincere desire to understand. Developing emotional resilience and self-regulation is key to managing these difficult conversations, allowing us to engage thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. The act of listening openly and without judgment is a shared responsibility that requires all participants to approach discussions with tolerance, humility, and the recognition that no single worldview is complete. We must acknowledge that our individual perspectives, no matter how firmly held, are inherently limited. This mindset fosters a more productive and respectful exchange of ideas, creating an environment where diverse opinions can be explored without fear of judgment. That said, not all viewpoints deserve equal consideration. It is important to recognize that some belief systems, particularly those rooted in hatred, prejudice, or the dehumanization of others, are incompatible with the principles of empathy, respect, and human dignity. Open listening does not mean condoning viewpoints that actively harm others or promote injustice. Rather, the practice of open-minded listening is about fostering understanding, finding common ground, and working towards solutions, even when faced with deep ideological divides. Approaching differences with patience and empathy can reveal the underlying fears, historical contexts, and deeply held motivations that shape opposing viewpoints. These insights provide a foundation for more effective communication and conflict resolution. By listening openly, we increase our chances of identifying shared values or common goals, creating opportunities for dialogue and coexistence in situations where division and discord might otherwise prevail. Listening without judgment is not only a valuable skill but also a profound act of compassion. It recognizes our shared humanity and fosters a deeper understanding of the complexities of the human experience. When we embrace this practice, we not only expand our understanding but also create opportunities for mutual growth and learning. The result is a more just, equitable, and peaceful society, where differences are respected and dialogue is welcomed. This commitment to open-minded listening requires emotional intelligence, humility, and a willingness to step outside our comfort zones. It challenges us to confront our own biases and blind spots, but the rewards are immense. By cultivating this skill, we enhance our relationships, strengthen our communities, and move closer to the ideals of fairness, empathy, and understanding that underpin a truly enlightened society. In addition to honing our listening skills, it is crucial to develop the ability to recognize logical inconsistencies in both our own thinking and the arguments we encounter. Cognitive biases and mental shortcuts can lead us to hold on to incorrect beliefs, make faulty assumptions, and overlook obvious contradictions. These flaws in reasoning undermine the validity of our conclusions and can distort our understanding of complex issues. Critical thinking is the antidote to these cognitive pitfalls. It involves rigorously evaluating information, ideas, and arguments through the lens of logic, evidence, and sound reasoning. To identify logical inconsistencies, We must actively challenge our assumptions, test the coherence of our premises, and assess whether the conclusions we draw follow logically from the evidence presented. This disciplined approach helps us avoid errors in reasoning and ensures that our beliefs are grounded in reality rather than in flawed or incomplete thinking. In practice, developing critical thinking skills means questioning not only the arguments of others but also our own. It requires a willingness to scrutinize our beliefs and be open to the possibility that we might be wrong. This intellectual humility is essential for cultivating an impartial mindset and for engaging in meaningful, productive dialogue with others. By identifying and addressing logical contradictions, we strengthen our ability to navigate complex issues with clarity and fairness. Ultimately, both open listening and critical thinking are essential tools for fostering understanding in a divided world. They allow us to engage with others in a way that is respectful, thoughtful, and grounded in a genuine desire for truth and fairness. As we cultivate these skills, we not only improve our own lives but also contribute to the creation of a more compassionate, just, and harmonious society. The complexity of human thought and reasoning is often riddled with inconsistencies and contradictions. In everyday discourse, logical fallacies like self-contradiction frequently surface, wherein a person or argument makes claims that clash with each other. For example, when someone asserts that all generalizations are false, they contradict themselves, since the statement itself is a generalization. Spotting and addressing these fallacies is crucial in maintaining intellectual honesty and avoiding the mental dissonance that arises from accepting conflicting ideas. By being mindful of these contradictions, we can stay rooted in a rational, coherent thought process. Another common pitfall is the non sequitur, a type of logical inconsistency where conclusions drawn do not logically follow from the premises or evidence provided. This can take various forms, whether it's broad generalizations based on scant evidence, asserting causality without substantial proof, or relying more on emotional appeals or personal attacks, ad hominem, than on well-constructed arguments. Moreover, some individuals or groups may simultaneously hold conflicting beliefs, like supporting individual liberty while endorsing laws that restrict personal freedoms. Such inconsistencies can erode the strength of one's reasoning, highlighting the importance of intellectual integrity. It is only through the careful examination of these contradictions that we can ensure our beliefs align with sound ethical frameworks. Even well-established systems of belief, whether philosophical or political, are not immune to underlying contradictions. These frameworks may appear solid, but critical analysis often reveals flaws that challenge their coherence. When we take the time to scrutinize these ideologies, we can uncover inconsistencies that have been glossed over or rationalized away over time. It is through this active process of examining and analyzing our belief systems that we maintain a commitment to truth and objectivity. Recognizing logical fallacies and inconsistencies goes beyond mere intellectual exercise. It plays an essential role in cultivating a mindset rooted in reality, facts, and rational thinking. By addressing the errors in our own reasoning, as well as in the arguments of others, we guard against confirmation bias, which leads us to cling to erroneous beliefs and disregard contradictory evidence. Failure to confront these logical errors leaves us vulnerable to maintaining unsubstantiated views that distort our understanding of the world. That said, not all contradictions are as clear-cut as they seem. Some apparent inconsistencies may arise due to contextual nuances, complex reasoning, or even communication barriers. Before dismissing a claim outright, it's important to remain open to further investigation and discussion. Sometimes what looks like a contradiction may be rooted in deeper or more sophisticated reasoning. Keeping an open mind allows us to navigate these subtleties and gain a fuller understanding. This continuous process of recognizing and resolving logical inconsistencies requires vigilance and introspection. It demands that we regularly challenge our assumptions and adjust our beliefs in response to new information or revelations. By committing to this ongoing intellectual scrutiny, we ensure that our thoughts and actions are anchored in reason, empirical evidence, and ethical soundness. In a world that is constantly evolving, maintaining such clarity of thought is essential. Furthermore, the task of identifying logical contradictions is not an individual effort alone, it is a collective responsibility. It calls for respectful dialogue, critical analysis, and a shared commitment to pursuing truth and objectivity. Addressing fallacies and contradictions can be a delicate process, often challenging deeply held convictions or ideologies that form the foundation of our identities and worldviews. Approaching this task with empathy and compassion is crucial, as people's beliefs often serve important psychological and social functions, even when they are logically flawed. In addition to addressing logical inconsistencies, it's important to embrace cognitive diversity, the wide array of perspectives, beliefs, and ways of thinking that exist among different cultures, communities, and individuals. Cognitive diversity has become increasingly important in our globalized and interconnected world, where intellectual homogeneity and echo chambers can stifle growth and innovation. When we surround ourselves with like-minded individuals who reinforce our preconceptions, we miss out on the richness of diverse thought and the opportunity to challenge our own assumptions. The human experience is inherently diverse, shaped by a unique mix of life experiences, cultural influences, genetic predispositions, and neurological wiring. This diversity ensures that no two minds are exactly alike, leading to different worldviews, approaches to problem solving, and interpretations of reality. By recognizing and embracing this diversity, we gain a deeper appreciation of the complexity of human thought and a broader range of tools to tackle the challenges of an increasingly complex world. Embracing cognitive diversity doesn't just broaden our horizons, it also fosters creativity and intellectual growth. Engaging with people who think differently from us forces us to re-examine the limitations of our own perspectives. We may encounter ideas or solutions that had previously eluded us, allowing for more comprehensive and innovative problem solving. This diversity in thought provides a powerful counterbalance to confirmation bias, which tends to prioritize information that supports our existing beliefs while ignoring or minimizing contradictory evidence. By surrounding ourselves with a variety of perspectives, we open ourselves to the possibility of changing our views in light of stronger arguments or evidence. In doing so, we challenge our assumptions and stay open to evolving our understanding of the world. Cognitive diversity also plays a critical role in group decision-making and problem-solving. Teams composed of individuals with varied approaches to thinking tend to perform better than more homogeneous groups. When we are exposed to different viewpoints, it forces us to question our own thinking, ultimately leading to better decisions and more creative solutions. Encouraging diversity of thought allows us to see problems from multiple angles and helps prevent the kind of groupthink that often leads to poor outcomes. In this way, embracing cognitive diversity is not only beneficial on a personal level but is also crucial for collective success. Whether we are working in teams, engaging in social discourse, or navigating complex global issues, the inclusion of diverse perspectives enriches the process and leads to better, more robust solutions. In conclusion, both logical consistency and cognitive diversity are essential components of critical thinking. By recognizing and addressing contradictions in our own reasoning, we strengthen our intellectual integrity and remain open to evolving our views. At the same time, embracing the diverse perspectives of others helps us challenge our assumptions, counteract biases, and foster intellectual growth. These two elements, logic and diversity, work hand in hand to create a more thoughtful, rational, and inclusive approach to navigating the complexities of the world around us. In a world where collaboration and teamwork drive innovation, the most effective groups are often those composed of individuals with different backgrounds, cognitive styles, and expertise. These diverse teams bring unique perspectives to the table, allowing them to tackle problems from various angles, recognize biases that others may overlook, and generate creative solutions that might not arise in more homogeneous settings. The breadth of thought diversity can enhance the quality of decision-making, fostering innovation and resilience, particularly in the face of rapidly changing conditions. However, embracing cognitive diversity isn't just an intellectual exercise. It is also a deeply personal and emotional journey. Encountering viewpoints that challenge our ingrained beliefs can be uncomfortable and even threatening to our sense of self and how we perceive the world. The process of confronting these divergent ideas often stirs feelings of confusion, cognitive dissonance, or even grief. This emotional discomfort is part of the journey, and it's vital to approach it with humility, empathy, and a willingness to work through the discomfort, as it is through this that real growth occurs. One of the major challenges to embracing diversity of thought is overcoming the natural human tendency toward tribalism, the instinct to bond with those who are like us and to view those who are different with suspicion or hostility. This us versus them mentality can manifest in subtle ways, leading us to unconsciously dismiss viewpoints from those outside our social, cultural, or ideological circles. To combat this, we must consciously reflect on our beliefs and remain open to questioning our assumptions about who qualifies as us and who is considered them. Embracing cognitive diversity doesn't mean abandoning our core values or convictions. Rather, it involves approaching opposing viewpoints with an open mind and a willingness to listen and learn. Even worldviews or belief systems that starkly contrast with our own may contain kernels of truth or valuable insights that enhance our understanding or challenge our blind spots. The key is to recognize that learning from different perspectives doesn't require us to compromise our deeply held principles. Actively seeking out different points of view, both locally and globally, is an essential part of embracing cognitive diversity. This isn't a passive exercise, it requires intention and effort. It might mean diversifying the sources of information and media we consume, pursuing educational or travel opportunities that expose us to new cultures and ways of thinking, or simply engaging in meaningful conversations with people whose backgrounds and beliefs differ from our own. Through these actions, we broaden our understanding of the world and cultivate a more nuanced perspective. At the same time, it's important to acknowledge that not all viewpoints are inherently worthy of respect under the banner of cognitive diversity. Ideologies rooted in bigotry, hatred, or the deliberate oppression or dehumanization of others must not be tolerated. These belief systems fundamentally contradict the values of impartiality, empathy, and human dignity that are central to the pursuit of diversity of thought. Despite this, cognitive diversity remains a powerful tool for fostering greater understanding. By engaging with a broad spectrum of perspectives, we can find points of commonality, shared goals, and pathways for constructive dialogue. This approach is particularly useful in navigating deeply entrenched ideological divides or long-standing conflicts. When we approach these divisions with empathy, patience, and a genuine desire to understand the historical and emotional contexts that shape opposing worldviews, we create opportunities for mutual learning, growth, and, ultimately, a more equitable and peaceful society. Another significant challenge to developing an impartial mindset is managing the influence of emotions on our decisions and judgments. As emotional beings, our thoughts, perceptions, and behaviors are inextricably linked to our moods, gut instincts, and emotional responses. While this emotional complexity is a vital part of what makes us human, it can also cloud our judgment, leading us to make decisions based on fleeting feelings rather than on reasoned arguments or verifiable facts. To separate our emotions from our decisions, we must first cultivate self-awareness and emotional intelligence. This involves recognizing our emotional patterns and understanding how our thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations are interconnected. By bringing our emotions into conscious awareness, we can accept them without allowing them to dominate our decision-making processes. One of the greatest dangers of letting emotions drive our decisions is the risk of cognitive distortions. Intense emotional states, whether they involve anger, fear, jealousy, or euphoria, can warp our perceptions and lead to flawed reasoning. In such states, We may ignore important information, make hasty generalizations, or think in binary terms that oversimplify complex situations. Additionally, emotions can prompt us to prioritize short-term gratification over long-term consequences, leading to decisions we might later regret. Moreover, emotions can cause us to cling to certain beliefs or viewpoints because we have a strong emotional attachment to them, rather than because they are supported by logical reasoning or evidence. To mitigate these tendencies, it is essential to practice emotional detachment when making decisions. This doesn't mean ignoring our feelings entirely, but rather creating a mental space where we can evaluate the facts, weigh our options, and draw conclusions based on reason rather than emotional impulses. One effective strategy for separating emotions from decision-making is the practice of mindfulness and present moment awareness. Mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them, giving us the clarity needed to conduct objective and rational analysis. By staying grounded in the present moment, we avoid the emotional reactivity that can lead to impulsive or poorly thought-out decisions. Seeking input from others who are more emotionally detached from the situation can also be helpful. Trusted individuals can offer fresh perspectives and point out biases or emotional blind spots that we may not be able to see ourselves. This outside input can be invaluable in making more balanced and reasoned judgments. In conclusion, navigating the complexities of human thought and decision-making requires both a commitment to cognitive diversity and the ability to manage our emotional responses. By embracing a wide range of perspectives, we foster innovation, challenge our biases, and promote intellectual growth. At the same time, by developing emotional awareness and learning to separate our feelings from our decisions, we can make more objective, thoughtful choices. Together, these practices empower us to approach the world with greater clarity, understanding, and fairness. The process of decision-making, particularly when intertwined with our emotional responses, requires a deeper understanding of how emotions and logic can either complement or conflict with one another. When we allow emotions to overly influence our judgments, we risk obscuring critical insights, which can ultimately cloud our reasoning. However, emotions are an intrinsic part of the human experience and should not be entirely dismissed. Instead, the key is learning how to balance emotions and logic effectively, using each in ways that enhance our understanding without allowing them to overshadow the other. In decision-making, it's helpful to have a clear, rational perspective, and one way to achieve this is by inviting others to challenge our assumptions. By allowing people to question our logic and critique our ideas, we can uncover emotional blind spots and biases we might not have been aware of. This doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing our emotions, as emotions often provide valuable gut feelings, instincts, and insights. The trick lies in maintaining a healthy balance, ensuring that emotions deepen our comprehension without unduly steering our decisions. It's also important to recognize that emotions can play a legitimate role in decision-making, especially in situations involving deeply personal or ethical dilemmas. In such cases, completely separating emotions from the decision would not only be inappropriate but could lead to destructive outcomes. These situations require emotional self-awareness, where we allow emotions to guide us while also evaluating them with reason and objectivity. It's about maintaining a thoughtful interplay between the emotional and rational aspects of our thinking. Detaching emotions from our judgments is an ongoing practice, one that requires continuous reflection, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront our emotional triggers. Life inevitably presents us with situations that evoke strong emotional reactions, and it is crucial to develop the mental discipline to pause, reflect, and approach these situations with clarity. By doing so, we can prevent emotional impulses from overtaking our logical faculties, leading to more measured and well-thought-out decisions. Moreover, separating emotions from judgments is not merely an individual endeavor, it requires collective effort. Open communication, intellectual rigor, and a shared commitment to seeking truth and moral reasoning create an environment conducive to impartial decision-making. Within this kind of space, emotions can be acknowledged and processed without losing sight of reason and evidence. When a community prioritizes reasoned discourse alongside the acknowledgement of emotional experiences, it paves the way for better judgment and more objective decision-making. Balancing emotion and reason allows us to honor the depth of our emotional experiences while maintaining the clarity necessary to navigate complex situations. This process doesn't ask us to deny our humanity but encourages emotional intelligence and self-awareness. By learning to manage the interaction between our thoughts and feelings, we can foster deeper understanding in our relationships, make more sound decisions, and cultivate compassion for others. Part of this balance involves recognizing the role of cognitive biases, mental shortcuts or patterns that deviate from rational thinking. When we let emotions take over, we become more susceptible to biases like confirmation bias or the availability heuristic. Emotional detachment can help mitigate these biases, leading to more reasoned decisions. In practice, this means we are more likely to assess situations based on facts and logic rather than emotional reactions. Emotional detachment can also have a significant impact on interpersonal relationships. When emotions dominate, disagreements can easily escalate into conflicts. In contrast, detaching emotions from judgments allows for civil discourse and a greater capacity to understand others' perspectives. By maintaining a level-headed approach, we become better equipped to resolve conflicts and work towards solutions that respect the diverse experiences and viewpoints within our communities. While learning to keep emotions in check can greatly improve decision-making, it is not a panacea for all of life's problems. Nor is it a call to abandon our emotional experiences altogether. Rather, it's about developing a toolset, a framework that helps us navigate life's complexities with greater wisdom and clarity. This practice fosters self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and a lifelong commitment to personal growth, ultimately improving our interactions with others and contributing to a more just and compassionate society. This practice aligns with the values of impartiality, wisdom, and enlightenment, principles that have guided the greatest thinkers throughout history. By committing to this path, we not only enhance our own lives but also contribute to the betterment of society. When we approach the world with objectivity, empathy, and reason, we help create a world in which rational discussion and moral judgment form the foundation of our collective actions. The development of an impartial mindset requires ongoing effort and dedication to personal growth. Throughout this journey, we encounter various strategies and concepts designed to help us overcome our biases and emotional attachments. Recognizing and addressing cognitive biases is crucial in minimizing their influence on our judgments. By cultivating empathy and perspective-taking, we learn to appreciate viewpoints vastly different from our own, and in doing so, we become more open to objective thinking. Emotions, while central to our experience, often challenge our ability to be objective. We must continuously practice keeping our feelings separate from our judgments, understanding that emotions can deeply affect our capacity for clear thinking. This doesn't mean disregarding our emotions, rather, it requires us to engage with them thoughtfully, ensuring they inform our decisions without overpowering them. The goal of emotional detachment is not to suppress our emotional selves, but to enhance our ability to think clearly and make sound judgments. Emotional intelligence plays a key role in this process, helping us navigate the inevitable interplay between thought and feeling. When we succeed in striking this balance, we gain the ability to approach life's challenges with greater clarity and wisdom, making decisions that are more grounded in reality. Ultimately, the practice of separating emotions from judgments is a path to personal empowerment. It equips us with the skills to make decisions that are not only reasoned but also compassionate. By fostering a more rational and objective worldview, we position ourselves to contribute to a society where all perspectives are valued, and mutual respect is the cornerstone of our collective actions. In this pursuit, we come closer to realizing our potential as human beings. By aligning with the principles of impartiality and wisdom, we honor the richness of our emotional lives while staying grounded in the truth. This delicate balance leads to better decision-making, improved relationships, and a deeper understanding of the world around us. Truly broaden our understanding and transcend the limitations of our own perspectives, we must embrace a variety of cognitive viewpoints. This journey involves stepping outside our comfort zones to engage with the vast array of ideas, perspectives, and modes of thought that make up the human experience. Expanding our awareness means actively seeking out and being open to viewpoints that differ from our own. Throughout this exploration, we encounter the complexities of striving for genuine impartiality. Our preconceived notions often clash with new ideas, leading to moments of cognitive dissonance. These challenges are not merely obstacles, they are opportunities for growth. By facing these uncomfortable truths, we cultivate invaluable qualities such as emotional intelligence, humility, and resilience. This process deepens our appreciation for the inherent worth and dignity of every individual. As we navigate this journey, the discomfort we experience serves as a catalyst for personal development. It pushes us to confront our biases and refine our ability to engage empathetically with others. This transformation is not always easy, but it is essential for fostering a more inclusive and understanding worldview. By remaining receptive to diverse perspectives, we not only enhance our own cognitive and emotional growth, but also contribute to a richer, more nuanced understanding of the world. In summary, embracing cognitive diversity is a vital step towards personal and collective enlightenment. It challenges us to question our assumptions, endure moments of discomfort, and emerge with a deeper sense of respect for the diversity of human thought and experience. Copyright 2024 by FreeBooksTube. Thank you for listening. Please consider to subscribe, like, and share to help the channel grow new videos on a daily basis.